That's the thing I keep having to relearn about my husband. He is exactly his father's son, right up until the moment it matters, and then he isn't, and the not being it costs him every time, and he does it anyway. One condition, he said. Empire of Ashes. Episode 11. Follow the Money. Written by Mia. Lena. I agreed to save the empire over breakfast, the way other couples agree to repaint a room. Full access, I said. Every account, every shell, every book Salvador kept, and everyone he hid. If I'm going to make the Marchettis look solvent to the commission in a week, I have to see exactly how dead we really are.
No managing me.
No deciding what I can survive. You want my father's mind saving your family. You get all of it, pointed at all of it. Dario looked at me across the wreck of everything for a long moment. Then he said, "Done." And I understood it cost him something, because full access meant I'd be walking through the entire secret architecture of his father's crimes, and somewhere in that architecture was the name he'd locked in a safe to keep me alive. He gave me the access anyway. That's the thing I keep having to relearn about my husband. He is exactly his father's son, right up until the moment it matters, and then he isn't, and the not being it costs him every time, and he does it anyway. One condition, he said. You find what you find about the empire. But the other thing, the night your father died, the account, the name, you leave it in the safe. We have a week to keep the commission from burying all of us. After that, if you still want to walk toward the thing that gets you killed, I'll walk toward it beside you. But not this week. This week you're an accountant, not a daughter. Deal? Deal, I said. I meant it when I said it. I want that on the record. For later. For when I broke it. Saving the empire was only half the deal. The other half was the marriage, and the marriage was Sophia's department. Dario's sister appeared the next morning with a stylist, a calendar, and the grim cheer of a woman organizing a funeral she's decided to call a wedding. The commission don't read balance sheets, she said, pinning me into a dress the color of old money. They read rooms. They'll watch how he looks at you across the table. Whether your hand finds his without thinking, whether you fight like strangers or like two people who've earned the right to. So we rehearse. She caught my eye in the mirror, and under the brightness was her brother's same fear for the family. I know it's broken between you. I'm not blind, and I'm not stupid, whatever the two of you have decided about the lying. But you're going to walk into a room full of men deciding whether we live, and you're going to make them believe my brother is loved. Her pin stilled. Can you do that, Lena? Can you perform the one thing that turned out to be true? I told her I could. It was the easiest lie I'd told in that house, because it wasn't one. We worked the books in Salvatore's study for 3 nights. It turns out my husband and I are very good at exactly one thing together, and it is not the marriage. It's this, the work. 2 people who see this city as a system of hidden flows and buried leverage, sitting on opposite sides of a dead man's desk at 2 a.m, taking his empire apart to put it back together. And somewhere in the 3rd night, I looked up from a column of his father's lies and found Dario already looking at me. And for once, neither of us pretended we weren't. You're enjoying this, he said. Not an accusation, almost wonder. My father and I used to do this. It came out before I could decide not to let it. Saturday mornings. He'd bring home a company's books. Clean ones, real clients. He was an honest accountant before your father turned him into a victim, and we'd find the lie in them together. There's always a lie. He taught me to love finding it. The money never lies. He used to say, even when every hand that holds it does. I hadn't said my father's name with love in 3 years. I'd only ever said it with a knife. It came out different now, in the dark, across the books. I forgot I used to love this. Before I made it a weapon. You're the first person since him I've gotten to just do it with. Something crossed Dario's face that I had never seen on it. Not the wall, not the want. Something new and undefended. Salvatore never let me near the real books, he said. 33 years. I ran this family for 8 months on guesses, because my own father never trusted me with the truth of it. And now the one person walking me through it, line by line, is the woman who married me to destroy it. He almost laughed. You've shown me more of my own empire in 3 nights than my father did in my whole life. It was the most intimate thing either of us had said since the marriage stopped being a performance. It had nothing at all to do with our bodies, and it undid me more than anything that did. I had to look back down at the books before I did something we'd both regret, with a week of killers still ahead of us. And then there was the rehearsing, which was worse, because Sophia made us practice being in love. A hand at the small of my back, walking into a room. The particular way a husband leans down to hear his wife in a crowd. Closer, Sophia kept saying, merciless. You look like you're being arrested, Dario. She's your wife, not a hostile witness. And Dario would set his jaw and put his hand against my spine the way the choreography demanded, and his hand would be warm and certain and exactly where it had learned to live in 11 weeks of a marriage we'd accidentally meant. And the whole performance kept collapsing into the thing it was pretending to be. We were good at it. That was the horror. We'd had 3 months of practice being a couple in love before either of us knew the other was lying, and the body does not forget what the mind is still furious about. Every rehearsal, I had to remind myself that his hand on me was a transaction. Every rehearsal, his hand on me forgot. By the 3rd afternoon, Sophia stopped correcting us and just watched, the way you watch a thing you're not sure you're meant to see, and said, very quietly, "Oh," and left the room. Dario. I watched her work, those 3 nights, and I was more afraid than I'd been in the cannery. Not of the commission, of her, of how good she was. I'd spent 8 months keeping one fact in a safe behind my father's portrait, and I believed, the way you believe the thing you need to, that a locked door was the same as a buried truth. But you cannot put Lena Russo in a room with the complete architecture of Salvatore's crimes and expect the door to hold. She doesn't read a ledger the way other people do. She reads it the way a tracker reads a wood. Every disturbed thing, every payment that steps wrong, every silence where a number should be. I watched her trace my father's frauds 3 layers deeper than his own accountants ever had, and I knew, with a cold certainty that kept me up the way she keeps me up, that it was only a matter of nights before she walked her father's gift straight into the one transaction I'd give anything for her never to find. I could have pulled a page. I'm my father's son. I know how to make a number disappear. I sat at that desk at 3 in the morning with a killing transaction 1 folder away from her hands, and I thought about quietly removing it, managing her, keeping her safe in the dark the way I'd kept her safe in the dark for 8 months. I didn't pull the page. Because I'd looked at her saying her father's name with love for the first time in 3 years, across a desk, in the work he'd taught her, and I'd understood that the thing I'd been protecting wasn't her life. It was my access to her. As long as she didn't know, she stayed. And that is exactly the kind of thing my father would have done and called it love, and I was so tired of being the only one in the marriage still lying that I left the page where it was and let her be better than my secrets. I just didn't think she'd be this much faster than the week I'd asked her for. Lena. By the fourth morning, I had it. The empire, I mean. It was all there, the way I'd known it would be. My father had mapped the corpse so completely that the same map showed how to walk it. Salvatore's great fraud, the twice-promised collateral he'd used to play the Falcons and the Commission against each other, wasn't only a death sentence. Worked the other direction, it was a weapon. The Marchettis held secret leverage over half the families in the city, debts and shells and compromising flows that Salvatore had been too greedy and then too dead to use. I could make the House of Marchetti look not just solvent in front of the Commission. I could make it look dangerous. A family with its hand quietly around the throat of everyone at the table. I'd come to this city to end the Marchettis with my father's book. I was about to save them with it instead, and make them stronger than Salvatore ever managed. And then, because I am my father's daughter and cannot help it, I followed one thread too far. There was a payment that didn't fit. Everything in Salvatore's architecture made sense once you saw the shape of it. Every dirty dollar went somewhere that served Salvatore. That was the one law of the man. Except one. The night my father died, I know that date the way you know your own birthday, the way you know the worst day of your life. A large sum had moved out of one of Salvatore's deepest shells, the ones only he ever touched, to an account I didn't recognize. Off the map, nearly untraceable. My father had missed it, did miss it, because it post-dated his honest book. $140,000. The night Aldo Russo was killed. From Salvatore's own buried hand to a stranger. I almost missed it. That's the part one keep coming back to. It was buried under 4 layers of shell, routed through a cleaning company and a marina and a dead man's fishing license. The kind of work that takes a professional days just to see. And I saw it because I wasn't looking for it. Because I was 3 folders deep in honest solvency work, and my eye snagged on a date the way your eye snags on your own name in a crowded room. The worst day of my life has a gravity. 3 years of training my whole mind on it meant that even buried, even disguised, even when I'd promised a man I loved I'd leave it in a safe, that date reached up off the page and took me by the throat. My father taught me the money never lies. He didn't live to teach me the rest of it, the part one learned alone at that desk, that the money doesn't care whether you're ready for what it has to tell you. It just tells you, and then you have to go on living in the world it made true. I sat with it the way I'd sat with a deal book, because I understood what it was. You do not pay $140,000 out of your deepest shell on the night a man dies for nothing. That's a wage. Salvatore Marchetti paid someone the night my father died, and Dario had sworn Salvatore had no reason to kill Aldo, and both of those things were true at once, which left only one shape they could make together. Salvatore didn't order the kill, but Salvatore paid the killer. After. To clean it, or to bury it, or because the killer had something on him. My father's murderer had walked into Salvatore Marchetti's web that night and walked out $140,000 richer, which meant the killer was someone Salvatore couldn't simply remove. Someone with leverage. Someone inside. Someone who'd known about a secret midnight meeting that only a handful of people on Earth had known was even happening. I took the account number to Dario at midnight. I broke our deal 4 days early. I'd do it again. I put it on the desk in front of him, the way he'd put the deal book in front of me, and I watched his face when he saw it. He recognized the account. I'd have staked my life on it. The blood going out of his jaw, his eyes closing for 1 second. A man watching the thing he'd locked away walk back into the room on its own 2 feet. "You know whose this is," I said. "Dario. That's the name. That's who killed my father, and you know it on sight. Lena. My name, like a man laying down a gun. Put it down.
Please.
I am asking you, as the one person who has done nothing this whole time but try to keep you breathing, put it back in the safe. Get us through the commission. And let me tell you the rest when there's a wall around you. Because the second you chase this account, the person on the other end of it feels it move. And they have killed a better, more careful person than you for getting exactly this close. My father, I said. You mean my father, the better, more careful person. I mean your father. Dario didn't look away from me, and I'll give him this forever. He didn't soften it, didn't manage it, didn't dress the warning in anything but the truth. He got this close.
To this exact account.
It's in the deal book. If you read the last pages the way I have 100 times, he was looking at this same shape the week he died. That's what got him killed, Lena. Not the evidence against my father.
This.
The thing he found while he was busy being a martyr to the other thing. His jaw worked. You're about to go stand exactly where Aldo Russo was standing the night they put him in the ground. And you are far more mine to lose than you were 3 months ago. And I am asking you, not ordering you, for once in my life, not to. I looked at the number, $140,000 and 3 years of my life, and the name of the man I'd actually been hunting all along, one transaction away. Whose account is it, Dario? I said. To be continued. That was episode 11 of Empire of Ashes. If this one has its hooks in you, the next episode is already waiting. Subscribe so you don't miss it. The complete book is on Amazon, and early episodes plus Dario POV bonus scenes are on my Patreon. Links are in the description.
I've Mia.
Thank you for listening.